From hidden laboratories to the streets, methamphetamine, or simply meth, has left a devastating mark on society. But what exactly is meth? How did it become such a widespread and destructive force? And what are the real consequences of its use? Methamphetamine is not a new drug. Its roots date back to 1893, when a Japanese chemist named Nogai Nagiyoshi first synthesized it from ephedrine, a natural stimulant found in plants. Methamphetamine is a synthetic stimulant drug that affects the central nervous system. Over the years, this drug would evolve, moving from scientific interest to widespread illicit use. By 1919, a pharmacologist named Akira Ogata found a way to synthesize a crystalline form of methamphetamine, making the drug more potent and easier to produce. This form is what would eventually become the methamphetamine we recognize today. Meth's role in history took a sharp turn during World War II. Both Axis and Allied powers distributed methamphetamine to their soldiers to keep them alert and combat fatigue. The drug gave soldiers increased energy and focus, allowing them to stay awake for long periods. The Germans produced a version of the drug known as Pervitin, which was widely given to Nazi troops, including pilots and tank crews. Its effects were dangerous and addictive, but in the short term, meth became a secret weapon for militaries on both sides. After the war, methamphetamine didn't disappear, it only spread further. In the 1950s, doctors in the United States prescribed meth to treat various conditions such as obesity, depression, and even ADHD. It was seen as a miracle drug for weight loss and mental performance. But by the 1960s, recreational use surged. People began using meth recreationally to experience its euphoric effects, and as its addictive potential became clear, the negative consequences followed. How exactly does meth affect the brain and body? When ingested, methamphetamine triggers a massive release of dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter in the brain. This flood of dopamine causes an intense euphoric high, but the brain quickly builds a tolerance. Users need more and more of the drug to achieve the same effects, leading to addiction. The short-term effects of meth use include heightened energy, increased alertness, and intense pleasure. But the long-term effects are far more sinister. Chronic meth use wreaks havoc on the body and mind. Physically, meth leads to weight loss, severe dental issues, often referred to as meth mouth, skin sores, and an overall decline in physical health. Mentally, meth users suffer from anxiety, paranoia, hallucinations, and violent behavior. Over time, meth destroys the brain's ability to produce dopamine naturally, leaving users unable to feel pleasure without the drug, trapping them in a cycle of addiction. Methamphetamine production became easier and more dangerous with the rise of clandestine meth labs. These makeshift laboratories often use over-the-counter medications containing pseudoephedrine, a key ingredient in meth production, along with toxic chemicals like battery acid, drain cleaner, and antifreeze. The process is not only hazardous for those making the drug, but also for communities where these labs exist. Explosions and chemical contamination are common, making meth production a serious public health risk. But how did meth become so widespread, especially in the United States? By the 1990s, the meth epidemic was in full swing, particularly in rural areas. Mexican drug cartels took over much of the production, setting up super labs capable of producing vast quantities of meth. The drug was trafficked across borders and distributed throughout the US, leading to widespread addiction. The effects of methamphetamine use extend beyond the individual. Entire communities have felt the impact of the drug. Crime rates spike as users turn to theft or violence to support their addiction. Families are torn apart, and children are often left neglected. Law enforcement struggles to keep up, as meth-related arrests and incarcerations overwhelm the system. Rehabilitation and recovery from meth addiction can be a long, grueling process, with many users relapsing multiple times before achieving sobriety, if they ever do. In recent years, research has focused on understanding meth addiction and finding new ways to treat it. Unlike opioid addiction, where medications like methadone or Suboxone are used in treatment, there is no widely accepted pharmaceutical treatment for meth addiction. Behavioral therapies, such as cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, have shown some success, but relapse rates remain high. Research into meth addiction and its effects on the brain is ongoing, with scientists hoping to develop more effective treatments. So, what is the future of methamphetamine? Despite efforts to combat the meth epidemic, the drug remains prevalent worldwide. Law enforcement continues to crack down on meth labs and trafficking, but the drug's addictive nature makes it a persistent threat. Education, prevention, and access to treatment are critical in the fight against meth addiction, but the challenge is far from over. Meth may have started as a scientific discovery, but today, it represents a devastating global crisis. The more we understand about its history, production, effects, and the human cost, the better equipped we are to tackle the meth epidemic head-on. Now, let's dive into bonus information on meth, critical details that go beyond what we've already discussed. There are additional side effects and dangers that every viewer should be aware of. One of the lesser-known, but extremely dangerous effects of meth is its impact on the cardiovascular system. Long-term meth use can lead to heart attacks, strokes, and heart disease. The drug overstimulates the heart, causing increased heart rate and blood pressure, which weakens the cardiovascular system over time. Many meth users suffer sudden heart failure or aneurysms, leading to sudden death, especially when they push their bodies beyond normal limits. Another critical issue is meth's impact on the immune system. Meth users often have compromised immune systems, which leaves them more vulnerable to infections. This is one reason why many chronic users develop sores or meth sores, open wounds that can become seriously infected. Meth also makes users more susceptible to illnesses like HIV and hepatitis, especially in those who inject the drug or engage in risky behaviors. And finally, let's talk about the fatalities. Meth is a leading cause of drug-related deaths, and these deaths aren't always from overdose. Meth-related fatalities can result from severe dehydration, hypothermia, overheating of the body, or even organ failure caused by long-term use. The combination of prolonged stress on the heart, lack of proper nutrition, and meth's toxic chemicals can shut down vital organs over time. In recent years, meth overdose deaths have been steadily climbing, claiming more lives than ever. So, while meth addiction is tragic, the physical toll it takes on the body, especially leading to death, is often overlooked. It's important to understand that meth's dangers extend far beyond addiction. It is a life-threatening drug with fatal consequences. As we've seen throughout this video, methamphetamine is an incredibly dangerous and destructive drug. It's not just a substance that can ruin your health, it can take your life. Meth should never be experimented with, and if you or someone you know is using meth, it's crucial to take immediate action. Don't wait until it's too late. If you're using meth, seek help from medical professionals, addiction specialists, or local health services. There are support systems in place that can help you break free from addiction. Methamphetamine is a dangerous road, but with help, recovery is possible. And if you know someone who is using meth, don't stay silent. Reach out, offer support, and encourage them to get the help they need. Every moment counts. Methamphetamine doesn't just destroy bodies, it destroys lives, families, and entire communities. Together, we can fight this epidemic by staying informed, offering help, and protecting one another from the dangers of meth. Please, don't take this drug lightly, your life or someone else's could depend on it.